This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For September 27th, 2024, it's the best sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, episode number 95. Wow. Broadcasting live across like 6 time zones or something. From coast to coast, easternmost to westernmost, northernmost to southernmost, gate post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Decker, and it's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure with the AV SuperFriends.
Yay!
And let's say hello to today's panel of AV SuperFriends with this one. So today I'm joined by a legacy metrics specialist from Corvallis, Oregon, Mark Kolowazinski.
9 millimeters. That's what it is.
Well, if it's a legacy metric, they still use that.
That's pretty old.
Yeah.
Something like a cubit. Also joined by a chief solutions strategist from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
Yep. Where I have survived the rain all day.
That's right. You're in it. The thick of it.
It's raining there.
Yeah.
Apparently it's something about storms. Whatever
And
that
finally
is.
joined by our vice president for corporate configuration from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
Don't call us for programming changes. We only configure.
I think you should move the CIO over laterally. I think it's going to be more
That's
effective.
corporate reconfiguration.
Yeah.
Isn't it the same thing?
I don't know.
Just no programming. Don't do it.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Configuration only. So on today's show, we're going to discuss the minimum viable product for our AV projects, and we're going to talk about how AI likes to make stuff up, so be careful. But first, let's talk about some housekeeping again. We're going to keep doing this. So we want you to go out there and connect with us on the socials. Follow us on Twitter at AV SuperFriends, LinkedIn, however you find stuff on LinkedIn, search for AV SuperFriends, I don't know. And on YouTube, also search for AV SuperFriends.
Use AI. It'll get you there.
Do not use AI. To keep up with us for the latest updates and news, please spread the word. Share this podcast with your friends, your colleagues, your enemies, perfect strangers, anyone else who might enjoy it or might hate it. I don't care. If you could go out right now and cause a small fender bender car accident, and while you're exchanging information, grab that person's phone and subscribe them to our podcast, that would be great.
Now, when you get out and are taking pictures, have it playing on your phone while you're taking pictures. Get it off of the Bluetooth on your stereo and just have it on the phone. At
any point, if you could say, speaking of which, and then just refer to the show for unrelated reasons, that would be great. If you want to support the show, please consider donating. Your contributions help keep this show running, this house of cards, and will help us bring you the honest content that you love or love to hate. You'll find the donation link in the show notes or on our website or on this thing that I forgot to put up on the screen right.
Put it up there. There it is.
Content.
QR.
Honest content?
Honest content.
It's honest.
This is honest content.
Believe it or not.
We're also always eager to hear from you. So if you have a topic you'd like us to cover or something you really disagree with, please send us an email or comment via the socials. You can send us an email, mailbag at AV SuperFriends, or ping us on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or all those fun places. And finally, while you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple's, wherever the heck you're getting this stuff, please rate and review us, because it does help push us up in the rankings to get in front of that the third graders who are doing their own tech podcast.
Yes.
Jerks.
Who are really good.
They're outnumbering
really
us.
good.
They're beating us.
All right.
I didn't know we had competition.
It's a good
competition out there.
For this low of a bar.
As small of a market as technology, educational technology, AV podcasting is, there's a lot of them out there. So yeah.
We're one of
stuff happening in the background. What was all that?
What was that?
That was you.
Where's that coming from?
You're the one with the crazy network at home, bro. It's you, man. I don't know.
All right. So thanks everyone for your support. Couldn't do this without you. Appreciate all your feedback on this stuff. And now, because you waited for it all week, Justin can sing along with the news theme.
Sing along, Justin.
Yeah.
And today's
Always
news
a classic.
Isn't really this isn't the news story. This is more of a meta news story. So this week, probably all of us who are listening to this right now, got an email from Shure talking about their new Shure Cloud supporting system thingy-majigger stuff. So we'll bring this up. For those of you watching live.
This is not what you always wanted, Chris. This is what you've been asking for.
There's the Shure Cloud. No, I don't want this. And the concern with this is great. If they're, if they have a system for managing your Shure products, managing firmware and software and all this stuff, that's great. I appreciate that. This is number 27 in the cloud hosted services that I have to now use to manage my fleet of stuff. Please stop doing this. This is just causing problems and is not a great way to go about things. So
unless you buy everything Shure and everything on your campus is only Shure,
Shure projectors,
all
Shure
my
AV
projectors
over
are
IP, Shure, everything.
And for the record, I'm not giving my wireless mics access to the outside world, so it doesn't really
What?
matter.
why not?
Why are you not doing that?
Because that's a hill I don't want to die on. Like, I mean, that's not a fight I'm going to have.
Sadly, I believe this is the beginning of a lot of this kind of stuff. We're going to continue to see. There's more of this because this is how people
a
embrace
lot of this coming. Absolutely,
the cloud, right? This is the cloud coming at you. Could I interest you in a cloud management stitching cloud service provider where you can put all of your services under one additional login? Would that be something you'd be interested in? Yeah, you love it. I know.
trying to get some rain going.
Get the crowd. Oh yes, when you're playing in the cloud, bring an umbrella.
Turn that down.
We've seen other folks and manufacturers do the same thing. This is kind of what you get when enough people get in a room and say, we should have cloud monitoring of our stuff. And you're like, great. We'll just make a login for everybody to point all their things to the cloud and go ahead and manage it there. This is one of 8 different stops you'd have to go through if you're going to try to manage all your equipment. So, I mean, sure, great. I probably won't have it. Unless they force it upon me.
That's the fear.
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to release a new product line that only is manageable through their cloud service.
It's hard enough to get those MAC addresses off those microphones.
Yes, we're picking on Shure right now, but
they're all guilty.
There are other audio manufacturers out there, but yes, we're picking on Shure right now, but they're all doing it, or they're all thinking about it, and the splitting up of product lines or splitting up capabilities based on what devices talk to this system versus that system. I get it from a business perspective. From an individual business, it makes sense. It sounds good on paper. It's one of those value adds that people can put on, for their customers is like, oh, and we can manage all this stuff for you and keep your firmware up to date and all that and track all your individual licenses. Great. But what happens when that stops working or something's not supported through it or, the firmware's not available or there's some error or like Larry said, there's major security concerns about opening up access to all those different devices. And the answer of putting just put a dual NIC little miniature Raspberry Pi device in your network is not a solution.
That doesn't work either.
Well, it does, but it's a lot more to manage.
That works until security sees that you're doing that, then it doesn't work anymore.
This is the beginning of the as a service, right? As long as you're online and persistent and you're up to date with your licensing, your microphones will work. I mean,
you didn't pay the bill this month?
We will turn that feature off. This is wireless microphone as a service by way of the cloud. Does that sound intriguing?
No.
So somewhere there's some spreadsheet that makes sense for some deferred ramp model, Justin, that you could justify this whole thing.
Somebody asked for this. Somebody that's a customer said that
a lot of customers, I guarantee it,
would love a 30-second management platform to manage equipment. And Shure was like, sure, we can do that.
That's all they ever say.
Yeah, sure. That's the default answer for everything. But again, you're seeing a lot of this kind of you said you wanted cloud. Is this not what you wanted?
Who said they wanted cloud? I don't want cloud.
I never said that. No.
Maybe it was just me. I said I wanted cloud, but this is not the cloud I wanted.
No. I do not need my microphones on the cloud.
With a better silver lining by chance? A different option.
I would say I would happily use the cloud if the cloud is solely contained within my data center and never leaves campus.
Your own personal cloud. That's like a fog.
Yes, it's an individual cloud. Yeah. I want a little mist.
A little mist. Okay. Yes. Well, so
copyrighted.
I think this is wholly going to be the beginning of lots more of this stuff. So get ready.
Yeah, we're going to see it from all the manufacturers, and there's not going to be any sort of common way to get them to all talk together or any of that stuff. So it'll be real treat.
Through the AWS backend admin portal, you can go and at the script level get there. Have your credentials right.
So anyway, so this, while this particular product is not the news, but this concept, this product category is the news.
Is it even product? I mean, is this the thing you buy, or is this just some free thing? I don't know either.
You get 3 of them free with every microphone.
Even better.
3 clouds.
3 clouds.
How many clouds do you want?
Mic purchased.
I got a bunch in the car. How many clouds do you want right now?
Cloud. I have to charge you for that.
These are the teaser clouds, the taste test.
All right. We stop this.
All right.
Close this.
Well, sign up. Just give them your credit card. Put it in the cloud. What could go wrong?
But, when you think about that,
No.
that means everything on your network has to be on the network.
Aha.
Yeah.
You're going to have all these management platforms,
Yes.
and that's just a nightmare.
You're finally tumbling to it.
Yeah.
That's what we've been talking
It's
about
all on
this
the
whole
network.
time.
I mean, that is the Shangri-La we're all moving towards. Maybe.
Like all, the dashboards and having 32 dashboards, that's not the real problem. The real problem is putting it all on the network.
It's about getting substance out of those
works.
32 dashboards and having some methodology to stitch those dashboards together. If only there was some kind of way to do
Comb
that.
through all your dashboards like we were talking about before the show.
Well,
Moving one dashboard out of the way.
Why don't we
there
close
it
out the news segment, and I will. Could I interest you in a service that Independent Amalgamator provides to do exactly that? So why don't we take a quick break? We'll listen to that. We'll come back and we'll talk about the minimum viable product in our AV projects.
All right.
Are you tired of juggling between multiple screens and consoles just to get a grasp of your digital empire and keep an eye on all your AV devices? Introducing the game changer you've been waiting for, the All-in-One Console by Independent Amalgamated. A single pane of glass that watches over all your platforms, collating reports and usage details with the precision of a digital maestro. But here's the kicker. It's not some fancy AI doing the heavy lifting. This is AL. That's right, a man named Al.
That's right, folks. I'm Al, your digital sidekick. I manually sift through the data, crunch those numbers, and serve you with the juiciest insights on a silver platter.
With the All-in-One Console, bid farewell to the days of drowning in a sea of screens. Al here ensures you've got everything you need right at your fingertips. Worried about compatibility issues? Fear not. Al's got your back, seamlessly integrating with all your existing platforms.
Whether it's device uptime, routed signals, network traffic, or meeting schedules, I've got it covered.
So why waste time wrestling with multiple consoles when you can have the simplicity and efficiency of the All-in-One Console? Upgrade your digital game today. Visit our website now and let Al be your digital guru. Independent Amalgamated's All-in-One Console. Simplifying complexity, Al at once.
See, Justin, there you go. Perfect solution. Just what you needed.
Solved it.
Sure did. If I could only get that going. Yeah.
Al,
I still don't know who Al is.
Who's
You
Al
don't have
not?
to-
He's the guy who runs the console.
I've never met Al.
You're
He's
paying.
a-
You're paying this
independent
guy.
contractor. Yeah. You're the one
With
cutting
money.
the POs. What the heck?
We don't have any money.
But not anymore. We send it all to Al.
Yeah, exactly. Get these juicy insights.
Yeah, this is all starting to add up now.
All right, so yeah, now you see where we're going with this. The first topic for today's show is kind of this concept of like how little, is that the right way to phrase it? What's our minimum viable product? But how little are we comfortable delivering on stuff when we're
This
cutting
had
corners?
two different approaches. This was kind of brought forward at like the end of crunch time. Summer's getting to the end. You got things going. You have to get some level of operations going on in there, or you just don't want to have to deal with the fight with the contractor, and you just need to get a solution or whatever that is. So there's a couple of different variants of I take on this conversation. That was at least my take. But I'm
Let's start with the university one, since that's where we all are. Is classes start next week, or classes start in 2 weeks, whatever. I've got to finish up these last 40 rooms. How many corners are we?
40 rooms.
That's how many I did this
It's a
summer.
lot to finish up in a couple days.
How many
that's gonna be
corners are
rough.
we cutting? How fast are we doing commissioning?
Sounds like we're cutting all the corners.
Well,
They're just round. There's nothing left.
Mark's the one with round rooms. What stuff are we gonna we'll do later, or I'll just get this working and we'll come back. What's our level of comfort with some of those things? Because I'll be honest, there's things that in some of
there's
those
no
40
comfort.
rooms.
Let's just
It
get that out of the way
depends on
right
the
now.
day.
There's no comfort whatsoever in any of this process.
Oh yeah, there is. Every corner possible. See? He knows.
He knows. Because you just got to get there. So,
I mean, we all know the saying, looks about right, sounds about right.
Yes.
Like, that's the last 2 weeks before school. Yeah, I am not ringing out every space. I'm
We're
doing
going
a
to cut the
test call,
commissioning.
and it's good.
Just completely cut out commissioning.
No, we don't cut it out. You do a test call.
No.
If it looks
Yeah.
sounds okay,
see
you're
me,
good.
hear me,
Commissioning-
see you,
commissioning,
hear
yeah.
you, done, right? That's
Commissioning gets
the remote
compressed down to
thing.
about a
Yeah.
20 minute,
we're
like
We're like, programmer. Did you test everything? He's like, yeah, sure, buddy. Cool.
So,
And I
okay,
tested it in the first room, and it's good everywhere else.
so it
He's the
should be
last
good
one
everywhere
in.
else. Yeah.
turns on. Yes, check,
Everything's-
done. It turns on, and it sources correct. What now?
Source is correct.
Yes,
I'm gonna have to
sources.
have- Sources show.
The sources.
Oh,
Source eyes. Sources? I don't know. Moose. So those
So-
are correct. Yeah. And are we getting into like high quality room ringing audio adjustment tuning?
I
Just
think
sound
at the
comes
ve-
out of that speaker. Can't tell you if it's the right sound, but there's sound coming out of there. Is
Yeah,
that what we're going for?
is there picture in the room? Is there sound in the room? If there's mics and cameras, can you see and hear things as appropriate? You know, stamp it, mark it, move on, come back to the next one, sort of thing.
our
Yes.
commissioning is our help desk.
That is not how that works.
I have
The more
outsourced my
tickets we
commissioning. Yeah.
If
We
they can
know
see
we
it,
need to
then
spend
yes, it's
more on
done.
more time on that system next
So,
time.
Justin, what you're
We do
saying is
that.
you've outsourced your commissioning to the users of the space.
The help desk is like, hey,
Frugal.
this
I like
system
it.
y'all put in, it's no bueno. We're gonna have to go back.
And over those first couple of days, those tickets will help you catch all the
Yes,
commissioning to make
they'll
sure it's
sort it
done
all out.
correctly. That's right.
And guess what? You know how much time you saved by not having to commission every room when only 2 of them?
Because they're all
were a
programmed
problem?
exactly the same, right? So,
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the problem with that I found is sometimes instructors just get used to the way a system is, even if it's not correct. And that's why the professional should do the commissioning and not the user.
That's when you get the one, like the 12th week of the term. Oh, it's been like this all year. I just do this and do the workaround. I've been doing it since
No,
day
those
one.
are the ones we actually commission. Like, those are the ones we actually go through and test, and they're actually broke somehow that never get reported.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basic stuff. Things turn on. There's image. There's noise coming out of the speaker that we're assuming is the correct noise. And then let's bring in the whole remote / capture element of this. Is it there's picture coming out of the camera, and the total like quantitative approach, that microphone's picking up something and sending it. It's getting to my computer. I see levels in the test Zoom bar, and we must be good to go. Or are you doing a call and getting it critically
do a
on this?
call.
You do a
We
call.
do
Do a
a
test
call.
call. I can hear
Yeah.
stuff coming back.
But I bet you're like, can you hear me? Oh, you can't. Cool, thanks. Is that it? Like
You
that's
make
all.
a call to your cell phone in the room and watch by yourself.
Feeding back and you're turning
No.
muting.
Like,
all
yeah,
that.
that sounds about right. We're
Good.
Now, we
good.
have students who are monitoring the intercoms during that time anyway, so we'll call the same student all the time, but that's about as far as it goes.
We have a Zoom room that we do call them. We do,
Yeah.
and they all, yes. I mean, it's this,
Thumb
right?
up, thumb
This
down.
is that's the litmus test. We want to be here, but sometimes
So I'm going to ask this question.
No.
Maybe you don't know. Back in the bad old days of H323 standard space codecs, they all would do like that loop back call thing where you could do a call loop and hear
was
yourself back.
awesome.
Yeah, with the fish tanks and
So
things.
Zoom
tanks,
does
yeah.
that. I don't know if you guys know this. So there's
Yeah,
a
it
free
does.
one out there. Zoom.us/test is a free 5-minute loop back call and has been out there for years.
Wait, what?
Zoom.us/test.
Go to it now. I want to see it. Prove it.
we learned something.
This
we
can't
learned
be
Larry something.
Yeah, put that in the notes or something.
There you go.
Jeez, man.
It's been around
But it
for a
does
while.
it does exactly that. You
Yeah,
hear
it lets you
yourself
hear
come
yourself
back
and
and
see
it
yourself.
fires it back, and so you can hear what you sound like, and then you can see what you hear like. So,
And then you can put your ticket in accordingly because the instructors will be like, "It's not working.
yes,
System broken. Justin, come shave the buttons remotes off, please."
too many buttons on this remote.
Yeah. I don't know.
Those
And
are
then
my favorite systems.
Teams also does it, but it's within the menus of Teams. So whichever one you're using for that, but Teams will do it within the menus of the client. There's a button there for test call that you can do, and it does the same thing. It plays your audio back,
Yeah,
and you
you
hear
hear
yourself, and that sort of thing. So.
I mean, we typically you do it right just in the Zoom thing too. Audio settings, test.
You can do the little Zoom ding-a-ling-a-ling thing, but this is an actual call, so you can hear your audio. I mean,
we're talking
about
back. 5 minutes before the class is going live here, Chris. I mean, how much time do we have?
Now, that's probably the best part.
Come on.
So hold on. That's probably the best part of this Zoom test call is after 5 minutes, it cuts you off regardless. So you only have 5 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah, but the Microsoft Camera app cuts you, like you can just record real quick and do it. Like I don't need to
now you're
record it and listen to it.
I don't know. I'm just,
it's quick, man.
It's good.
You know, it's
when
quicker.
you need to verify it.
Not
it
going
works.
to the room and having the help desk do that. That's quicker.
Hey, out of sight, out of mind.
I'm just saying.
Just hope that it works. Okay, so that's stuff that we're kind of dealing with. What about the other side of this coin a little bit? When you just don't want to fight the fight anymore and you're willing to like accept something as not your standard or whatever minimum viable thing and just to move the thing forward because you don't have time to die on the hill.
That's every day. It's every day.
Give me an example of every day. What hill are you currently dying on, Justin?
I mean, you've listened to the show. Like I'm putting rooms in with no sound. We're cutting remote, buttons off remotes. We're
cutting remotes off buttons.
Cutting remotes off buttons probably.
Okay. So one of the examples comes up like conduit sizing, right? We in a project comes along. If you're in there moving forward, it's not something you're going to just change and snap your fingers. You're going to increase conduit sizing or add conduits. Like, do you redesign in that moment to find a solution for what you're given, or do you die on that hill and say, no, come back and update your conduit? Or like, how do you move forward? What are you doing
If the cabling crew says we put as much grease we could on that sumbitch and we can't get it in there, that means I have to redesign.
Okay. That's
basically, the emergency type situation. If they can't fit the cabling down the conduit, you're going to have to figure out how to put new conduit in or redesign it.
So surface is never the answer?
You always ask for double the conduit you actually need.
There you go. Correct answer.
Renovation or what are we talking about?
But either way,
Mark, like
I've seen both ways of this, right? So that, or you get to some weird and you just don't have what you need, right? You don't have the pathways you need. Do you like stop all progress and say, nope, we're going to have bring in the contracts in here. We're going to get legal in here and get this all sorted out.
I ran into that this summer. So let me give you an example of an existing building, and we ran into this problem, and it was one that I'll be brutally honest. I never considered it would be an issue. There were floor pokes in the floor. That's where they are.
This is where it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. I did not disassemble these to confirm that there was actual conduit and all that stuff in there. And then as we popped the top and looked at them, there was a single 3/4, and that ain't going to carry like 10 cat cables
for everything. Yeah.
So 10? We had to.
Jesus, what's going on? You're sharing with data also?
Yeah.
Or is it just your luxurious 10?
I need
drops?
one data drop coming from the network, but then that's all my shit for cat cameras and Dante mics and all that fun stuff.
And 5-wire BNC because
I run 5 cats for my 5-wire. Yes. I like that digital 5-wire.
Mm-hmm. Nice stuff.
And there's just not enough capacity there, and there's no way to do it. This was late in the project. This wasn't like, I'm not coming in and coring floors and all that stuff. So we had to pivot and use stupid not overfloor raceway, but like, a snake off the other side. So, okay, we can use the floor box out in the middle of the room for just power. Now I don't have to run power through my snake, but I still need this snake running the 10 cables over to this other wall here. And it was like, well, I have to shift. I'm not happy with it. I'm not pleased. I would love to go back and address that so it looks cleaner and a little more intentional. But that room was up and running for day 1 of classes, and now here we are in day 5, and I haven't gone back yet. So it's probably, if you ask me, in 3 years. In 3 years, it's probably still going to be exactly the way it is now.
Like, will you get back to this? And I think that's the narrative here.
Nobody's going to pay for that.
Pay for what? To go back and clean it up?
I'll pay for it out of my pocket, but
no, I wouldn't.
Well, and I've got a similar situation to Chris, where I had a building that was already in the design phase when I got here, and the conduit size and some of the floor boxes are just too small for what the use case that the instructors in the room wanted. Mm-hmm. And so I had to compromise the design a little bit, where I have an HD-based system feeding an AV over IP link to the instructor station, just so I can get what I need there because
But it's the same cable, Larry.
it's not though because
plug it in,
like
it'll be
I
fine.
can get USB and I can get that over the same one. And like if you use like Evertz or something, you got
you
two
doing?
channels.
What's
I
happening?
know.
here?
I'm right with you here. There's,
see?
there's USB transport I trust and USB transport I
Transport
do
I
not
don't.
trust. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're mixing and matching. I get it. I see where you're at.
Oh, that sounds really
I'm not saying I like it.
dirty.
I'm not
It's
saying I
stuff-
like it. But that's what I'm
It's
talking
USB I
about. Right.
will have on campus and USB I won't basically.
That's the bad kind of USB. Don't bring that around here.
Okay, multiple flavors of USB. Oh, we don't support that kind of USB.
Not over here.
You get that kind out of here.
So, recent project this summer. This was a group that we were like, well, you are last in line. We are going to get to you in the waning moments of the summer. And it started as, what is the standard? Just give us a standard room. Like, fine, standard room it is. Don't ask me which version of standard this is.
What the hell does that mean?
Don't even ask.
Just give me a standard
Yes.
room.
So as close as you can get to standard as possible. Fine. And then they're installing. Obviously, the group's over there doing it. And out of the woodwork, people come in, oh, you're going to have this and this and this and all this other stuff, right? I'm like, well, that's not in the standard. Oh, well, we need that. Well, we're not going to be able to have classes if we don't have that. I'm like, well, let's understand that word can't, because I'm not sure we're using that correctly here. We would not like to, because they basically wanted to go from a 10-foot widescreen. No, we need to have 12 larger. This is 4K. And I'm like, no, it's not. And then we didn't have a screen. And they said, what are you going to do? And I said, we're going to shine on the wall. Ah, what? That's not acceptable. I'm like, we can't have classes like that. I'm like, can we not? Let's find out how much that can't is true, because guess what's shining on the wall over there currently, right now? That projector. It is on the wall because they needed that. We ended up with a fixed frame screen, not an actual pull down or anything like that, because they wanted as much real estate as they possibly could on the wall at the 11th hour, which is not in my standard design whatsoever. And so, would you be okay with that? Just shining onto a rickety old wall in the meantime? Is that okay?
What was the limitation that you didn't have a screen sized
We
appropriately?
didn't have a screen because they asked for the standard size screen.
Gotcha.
We got the standard size screen. Lo and
So
behold,
here's
this
your
is not a
10
standard
foot
size.
wide, 116 or whatever it is.
Right. No,
and
we
they
wanted
wanted an
it
even
larger.
bigger image.
Yeah, they
Gotcha.
went larger, right? And so it
They
unravels.
just want wider?
Effectively, yes. Really wide. But
larger image, but dimmer.
yeah,
Because it's the same
larger, but
projector.
yes,
We're not changing the projector.
Yeah.
No.
So things like that where you're compromising, having to go back and forth, right? And so arguably it worked. When it just got delivered, we're going to build the fixed frame today, but it's weird when you got to like make those weird shifts and pivots, and you're constantly having to like do this negotiation piece about what you're willing to go back and address and what you're not going to have time to go back and address. I like to believe that we're effectively launching these things to the moon and we're never going to see them again. We want to be as done as we possibly can when we're out of there, because it's not going to be convenient for us to return and schedule that and do all this stuff. And Chris, 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about this room with the snake you have coming out of that floor box going over your lecture room, because you're not going to get the opportunity to go back and just fix that stuff. No. It's going to
I'll
live
get
that
right
way.
on it. I'll add it to the
Right.
list.
It's going to become your
When
new
it's
Dash 4
renovated.
X2 standard. It's going to be the new thing.
You will
Justin-
get there
Justin
at the
just said it.
replacement cycle.
Yeah,
when it gets renovated, we'll
when we
fix
go
it.
back and do that room in 8 more years, we'll change that one out too.
That's how we do things.
I'll add another snake.
We're not going to remove that one.
From
That
the
one's
other
doing
one.
critical
That actually came
service.
up as we were standing there. It was interesting during that conversation about what do we do here, and you got an electrician standing there, and a project manager, and 3 AV people, and just all standing around. And it was like, well, we do a second snake over here. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So
More. We need more.
the short version is, yeah, we can make this work today, but let's come up with a solution that actually looks like half intentional.
Right.
I mean,
but then with that having to find a solution is like that mother of invention, though, sometimes, where you do learn those weird things. Like, well, we got by with it. And you know what? Actually, it wasn't that bad. Like, have you done that where you've done the weird thing and you're like,
related to that, here's what happened on the initial run. There were so many cables, the wire loom that we had, we
lit on fire.
No, so they stuffed all the cables in wire loom, and then they had to use the second one next to it. But we didn't want to do the 2 snakes.
Oh, a
so then
sidecar loom.
they took an oversized, that mesh stuff, and they made a giant fire. I was like, no, we're not doing the freaking fire hose cable across the floor. Clean it up. So,
Nice.
the interim solution we did find, which I don't hate terribly, is I can't remember who makes it. I'll look it up here. Tech something. Anyway, but It's
Could be anything.
Velcro.
Yeah.
But it's Velcro such that this is a carpeted room, which is nice. So you can stick the Velcro down to the carpet and kind of hold
I've
that
seen
down.
those.
Is that the stuff
So-
where you peel it up, it rips the whole carpet square off the ground? Because that's the
Probably,
good
if you just
stuff.
grab it and pull on it. But that means you can take what would be a cable snake and kind of flatten it out some. So now it's under like 5 inches of this stuff across the floor, and it's only about a 4-foot run. It's not terrible, but it's much less distracting that way. Again, I don't love it, but it is what it is.
Hey, Chris, I think you mentioned like a key part there that you said like I don't love it, but it's okay. I'm more curious, like how many of these things that bug us, any of our clients would actually even notice.
They don't care.
Like if they would think this wasn't the way it was supposed
And
to be.
that's what I was about to say, Larry, is based on what we're talking about here, when we're trying to finish up a project at the last minute, I equate this to, is the customer going to complain about this on the first day? No. Okay, well, let's do that later, and let's do the more important things like make sound work, right?
Yeah, we are definitely our
I spent all summer
worst
on
critics when it comes to
that
this
cable
thing.
snake. There's no picture in that room. It doesn't work, but the cable snake.
that cable snake is.
But that's the main thing, is just not to get people to complain and basically have a decent enough experience where they're not complaining.
Well, and that was our mantra all the way through this project. We took our most heavily used classroom building, called the classroom building. We took that offline for the entire
name.
You Wyomingians are very creative.
Despite the name, it is actually named for Dr. Sally L. Classroom, who retired just a few
Classroom?
But it's classroom. It's pronounced classroom. But by doing that, so there we were in May, demoing stuff, basically breaking 30-some rooms of spaces that had to be back online for fall.
You were committed at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. Like by day 2, there's no way back. We burned that one down.
Hope you guys aren't taking vacation. Yeah.
Well, I did cancel vacations for August and September, so keep that. Seriously.
Now you were always wondering
How
why
you
you're
doing?
hiring. I get it. Yeah.
September?
Yeah, because that's when shit falls apart. Anyway, but that was the mantra. And Justin, to your point, would the customers notice on day one? So all the way through, we're like, can they have classes in here on day one? And the answer was yes, and we were able to do that, and there was no issues. And that was the sort of thing where, like, all the way through, we wanted to make sure that was functional. You're exactly right. It's the stuff that we would notice. We're going to see that as AV and IT professionals, that bothers me, or that needs to be addressed, or we need to clean that up, or I need to come back and get that, or I need to replace this or fix that or whatever. But it's working. It works every day. There's no problems. They have 12 hours of classes in there. It's fine. So I don't know.
Well, the devil's advocate in there. That's your true needs analysis, right? It is doing everything that is quote unquote needed. Did you apply too much nice analysis to it?
So I have a separate thing related to that. Yes. So there's added features that I was going to put into these spaces, which would enhance teaching and learning, but I never advertised them, so I didn't have to deliver them on day one.
It's not necessarily the features, though. It's more about how easy is this system to support. Like, for instance, we skip cable labels. Cool. Right? Oh, we skipped this. We forgot tie wraps today because we're just plugging shit in. Now we really need to go back.
We used metal zip ties instead.
How sloppy the system works, but
if
how
it's up an
sloppy
operational
was it
program
installed?
tied into your support desk online, doing all the things functioning classes are going, you're going to go back there and relabel and tie wrap?
What?
At that point? Support desk. Yeah, that's not part of your... All right, I guess, yes, sorry. You removed commissioning from this equation long ago. Sorry, I misspoke. Yes.
This doesn't make sense to me.
But by going back and cleaning up cables is... Are you going on the record saying you do that right now? For real?
No, not right now, no. But
what do you mean by going back and cleaning up cables?
Yeah, I'm still getting past the cables weren't labeled. Like, that's part of the install.
They were labeled.
They don't have time
put
to
marks
label.
on the bulk cable. So this is number 3. This one's number 6.
-2, 3. That just
go to the other end, find the same one. It's fine.
So when you're trying to hurry up and throw systems in, is it quicker to not label cables, or is it quicker to label cables?
I'm sorry, like all of our racks are built before they go out, and they're labeled there. And so
what the hell's a rack? What's this rack crap?
How do you bring the lectern from the room back to your shop and then bring it back again? The
lecterns that are out there right now, the old ones, are like little aircraft carriers, so we're not reusing those.
Oh, we have to reuse them. We can't afford new lecterns. Okay. So we have to build all of our systems in the room.
I'm still confused by this concept of a rack.
Yeah.
You're telling me in 2024 you are still racking up 12 RU of shit in your lecterns?
No, my rack has very little.
but it still need a rack.
It does
Does
have
I'm
a
not going to throw it
computer.
on the floor. I'm not
Does
going to
it?
mount it to the wall. Like just
pile in the
shoot a
room?
couple wood screws into
We're
a
talking
concrete
minimal
block and
viable product here. Come on.
hang a PD
Does
right
that not
there and
work?
just let it ride. No big deal.
I think you all need to rethink racks.
I'm somewhere in between
No,
here.
I don't think so. I think-
I will tell you right now, you could go find some stuff without labels on it. You can go find some stuff that's not twist tied, cleaned up, or excuse me, Velcroed. Because damn those zip ties, we're not doing that now. And that's something that's like that would be a luxury to go back and readdress a lot of that stuff. That's. Whew. But sometimes
exactly.
you just got to move and get things up and
Exactly.
operational. So I get it. And like, if that's the hill we're dying on, like those are the things. That's a luxury because I think there's a lot worse out there. It's like, oh, let me go
As-built
back.
diagrams, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Oh, no, that's what
As
I'm really
built,
bad on.
yeah.
I am bad at going back, or I will have my actual layout
But
diagrams.
this all goes back to support stuff.
I'll have
That's what I was
notes
talking
on
about.
it,
That's
but
what
I
I'm
will
saying.
never actually go back and update the original drawing. So, yeah, I'm really bad about that.
That's part of my job.
That's
I don't
right.
do that.
Redline that out. Update this.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to? Because I'm not. I don't have time to do that. Would love to, right? And so, but especially when you're doing like a bunch of cookie cutter ones, right? The same thing over and over again. It's like, okay,
that would be nice.
does every single room have a drawing to begin with, or do you reference one
Yeah.
common?
It has a standard type A,
Oh, good God.
C, D drawing.
So yeah, to that question, Mark, yeah, I'm doing 11 rooms this fall, and I think there's 3 drawings, and like this one, there's 4 of these, and
Yeah.
there's 3 of
I
these.
get
and
it. Copy,
That's fine.
export,
Every
change
room
name.
that we have on our slate to do in the next year, there's not one that's the same.
Just kingdom of
Yeah.
one-offs.
So Justin, what you're saying is you guys are doing nothing but like custom, bespoke.
highly detailed.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
These are-
Pause. Pause at custom.
Custom.
It's not highly detailed.
Just
I
custom.
didn't say that. Mark said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said you exclusively do custom designs for each project.
I got a weird theory here. I bet if you spent less time designing individual rooms, you would find time to label your wires.
But that's somebody
Come on
else's
now.
job. That's the installer's job.
He takes the orders to the engineers, Larry. He's not the one doing
I'm
it.
not the one
It's people
installing the
skills.
systems.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so
I'm just telling you things that get skipped because we got so much freaking work on our plate that we don't even know how to do the work that we've got.
well, where were you going to cut those corners? Not going to label.
I just went through them all.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
All right. Well, some of the other things we talked about, or some of the other items we brought up, is like, what's the lowest bar we'll accept on some of the stuff? And Mark, I think you were talking about specifically in a scenario of something getting delivered to you
Yeah.
that you have paid a contractor, an integrator, whatever, to do this work. They ran into issues or ran into time constraints, whatever. They're starting to like kind of
They're moving
lower
on.
that bar, like, oh,
Yep.
we can't do this, can't do that. We'll get you this sort of thing. But like, how comfortable are we in accepting that as a deliverable?
It's never comfortable. I think we said that earlier. It's when you have to change the way you're going to support the room, right? And you're like, we have to move. We have to move
Think
forward.
about what we just talked about, though. We were the ones putting the stuff in and cutting corners, and now you bring up
It's the-
support,
it's the same
right?
thing, right?
It's the same thing on support's view. What are they willing to accept? That's why we have the whole
Right.
engineering support clash that we've got.
We've had some recent projects where have you shared a seed file programmatically with an external programming organization where you're like, here's what it's going to look like, here's what it's going to feel like, here's the basis of our logic. So you
No,
share
I'm pulling
that,
that back.
and then I get it. It's not the best thing in the world, but when it happens, and then they take on their own accord, well, we added all this extra feature in here, and it's like, whoa. I didn't ask you to add any feature to this. I would have rather you just stuck to the program that was there and just kind of renamed it and redeployed.
Yeah, but we're providing value, Mark.
Exactly. But now my names
Value
are different and like they made assumptions that aren't correct. And you're like, ugh. And here you are in that 11th hour trying to get the handoff to get the project just closed out so you can get them off campus, knowing full well you're going to have to revisit this and probably reprogram it, readdress it, redo all that stuff. And swallowing that down sucks. You're like, because now you can just see the time commitment that you're now losing in this battle. Like, you paid good money outside agency to come in here and do this, and now you're going to have to end up subsidizing that afterwards to align it.
This is why you bring all your work in-house.
I get it. I know the mantra.
To cut.
I know the mantra. But sometimes in a large capital project, it's being done some other creative way. You don't have the ability to do every little thing like that.
Well, especially if it's off-site or you have one that's remote or regional or something
sometimes you just, and again, you don't have the energy to die on that hill. You have to move forward because you're already busy, inundated with other things. And this is the extra one for the one-off they're throwing on, and you're going to do this. And it's never a fun scenario to be caught in.
Yeah, and that's actually happened to me with the programming thing, not here, but at a different institution. And what you said there about dying on the hill, like there was a calculation made that I can program this system faster than it's going to take me to get them to do it right.
Right.
So let's just sign off, and I'll get started, and it'll be done by tomorrow versus holding their hands to walk through the entire process.
Because you're still going to be committed. Oh, we have to get it. Oh, we're not available to meet because they're on this other thing. Well, the programmer's on a different job site now, so he can't meet until next Friday. And it's just like, just can we just get you out of here and we'll just reprogram it? And you have to swallow that and kind of and move forward. And I think it comes in different ways. It can be programmatic. It can be, it's wired this way or that way. You're not putting things into the standard order you'd have it. And there's lots of different ways that equate to that. And yes, there's probably some other failure upstream of this, right? Some documented thing or some conversation that didn't happen, but none of us can go back in time. So we have to deal with it in the immediate. And so it happens. And I think this is the time of year where you get the culmination of a lot of these different variants that hit, and you got to be nimble, right? And stay on your toes, and hopefully your support desk, for those of us that have that luxury of having integrated support desk, Justin, for systems out there, communicate that with them so they know that there's an oddball space or two over here that are going to be a little different.
See, if everything's an oddball space, then we just roll with
Doesn't
it.
matter, right? They're just
it doesn't matter.
Okay. Great.
Everything's a wild card.
What do you hand them? Did anything, or did you just let them just figure it out on their own?
Yeah, it's just...
You even tell them, like, hey, we did a new room over here. There may be calls, but don't just let them go.
No.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
There could be a whole new building pop up.
What would happen if I called?
Hello? I don't know. Try it and see what happens.
We're going to do that on the show coming up. We're going to call our support desk and see what happens.
Each support desk and then...
We'll see how it escalates.
Okay.
It'll be a fun exercise. If anybody, you guys, if you want to be involved with that, let us know, and we'll call your support desk for you.
We'll keep them real busy too.
All right, so it happens time to time.
By the way, speaking of support desk, anyone recently getting tickets entered with buildings that don't exist, rooms that don't exist?
No, that's me. I'm calling your support desk and putting it in my building.
Yeah,
you're just not recognizing them.
They're putting in, like they're making up acronyms for buildings that are not an acronym for any building on campus, and then they're using rooms that don't exist in that building, and you're just like, come on, guys! All you have to do is log the
Sounds
log
like you need to
information.
update your Team Dynamics database correctly.
It is accurate, sir. It sounds like they need to stop making up their own freaking acronyms. Which, I wouldn't blow.
How do you do? I mean, if the field's populated with locked.
Oh.
You have a custom field and
free
not a
field,
field. That's your problem.
They put it in the in the description. So
you can search it. The best part is when you change systems right before the term, like we have just recently gone through, and getting all your filters.
You always want to schedule that for like the week before the classes start.
We did it right on time. Then it was nice.
Yep. Perfect.
So the
alternative is you can also schedule those upgrades 2 or 3 weeks after the semester starts or the quarter starts, but don't tell anybody. And then just suddenly on a Monday, it's different.
But if you do it like right before the semester starts, then you start the semester on a clean slate.
It's clean, yeah.
There's no more tickets.
I did lose my 1,000-day-old plus ticket, though, so I was a bit
I've got one that's up at 800, so I'm leaving that one open. Okay. So let's see. We talked about capital projects, internal projects, all that stuff. So what about this one last thing I want to bring up is the concept of done versus done, where you get to like that 80% of a space and there's like those, or maybe 90%, there's those 10% little things you want to go back and fine tune, tweak, adjust, do whatever. It sounds like we're probably all of us guilty of getting things to the done state and then walking with the, I'll come back for that. And
done enough.
Yes, it's not happening.
So, and I think that's the old adage, 80-20 rule. If I can get 80% of this thing, we're winning this war. So, I don't know. I think we all have those dreams of like, this is going to be sweet. I have all these nice ceiling microphones. We're going to dial it in, do some auto thing. And like, then you're here 5 minutes before classes.
See, this is why I want to work in one building. on a campus and only deal with one college.
Can you
And you have like
do
a
all the nice stuff and all
and you have a small
the
team
cool-
of there's only like 7 of you.
There's only like 12
10.
of us.
There's 10 of you
and
guys,
we have
yeah.
like 12 rooms to deal with.
Oh,
That's a
one
lot
person per
There's
room.
little mini rooms there. Yeah.
That would be great.
But I would argue, like, for the majority, the difference between done and done is audio. Like, tweaking the audio, getting it just right. And
But that's the one thing
you've
you give
already
it
said
at least.
audio is
Justin's
a
not even
luxury at
labeling
your
cables.
school, so-
But that's the thing, you give it like at least 10 or 15 minutes in the last closing moments before you leave on Friday night. You're there tweaking that.
I would rather tweak the audio than label cables because that goes to the customer's experience. Customers don't
closest
care
to the
about
client,
cable
right?
labels.
Wait, you don't have
the
to sign
support
off on that
people
when
do.
they first day of class look in the back of that
I
room,
would
make sure it's
rather
up to your
screw
spec?
over support than the customer. I'll say it. I don't like to say it, but that's
Say it.
I did. I just did. I said it.
Well,
I
like-
don't like to do that, but that's the way it is.
The difference between done audio and done audio is a variable that most people cannot hear. I'd be willing to say that.
well,
I would argue most
it also
AV
depends
people
on
can't
your
hear
room
it either.
acoustics,
Yeah,
too.
I'd be
Get that
willing to, like,
9,000
Basics are
spec
shit,
out.
then why are you dialing in your audio so precisely? Like
Yeah,
The
This is
number
a
of rooms I
concrete
walk
floor,
into around the
concrete
country
wall.
that you walk in and just there's this that standard just
Yeah.
You walk in, you hear,
all the
thank you,
time.
from the previous class. You're like, where the hell did that come from? It's just reverberating and bouncing around up there.
We had one in this building that we redid this summer. Somebody walked off with a lapel mic, which they do. You know, they're still wearing it, and off they go.
Yeah, it's on their
and
dresser.
the very next class, somebody called in like, "There's no mic." I'm like,
There is.
"Yeah, maybe go find that other person and track them down." So, yeah, it's just come on. Only so much we can do.
Pitting
All right.
instructors against one another.
Any last thoughts on the lowest viable product, the minimum viable product that we'll support, or that we will accept, rather?
Sounds like see something, hear something is pretty much it, right? Is it even the right thing? We don't know. Turned
No,
on.
well, that's and Larry mentioned early on. It's the SAR, FAR, LAR method.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Sounds about right, looks about right, feels about right.
Mhm.
Hey, things are installed. That'll hold, and off you go. So,
Cash the check. Moving on.
can you hold classes in there tomorrow? You can. Good. Next.
So which safety measures do you all tend to cut corners on?
None.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. No.
You're
never.
not just attaching things to the grid with Velcro.
Oh, man.
Throw a piece of wood up above the ceiling and hang the projector off that.
That's another show. We'll
You guys
have
have
a
money
topic
for
on
pieces
there.
of wood?
Yeah, we will
Well,
talk
that's
about
what we find on our campus a lot is somebody just lays a 3/4 inch plywood,
in the grid.
2x2 on the grid and like drills the projector mount. They're like, we're done. It's like, holy shit.
Hey.
Like, what are you doing?
I have found some weird shit on campus in the last 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's safety stuff. It's,
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Why would you want to secure any of those things, Justin?
Yeah.
it was secured to the piece
They're
of wood.
on the grid.
You're going to come back and update it. You want to be easy. Just get it down in a flash and get it back up
Actually,
there.
that was
Just
not easy.
pull on
to
it.
remember. It
Yes.
wasn't fun.
Mark, were you there when Keaton
Hope not.
demoed the entire ceiling of PV Hall? The old PV Hall?
I've been around for several suspect demoings of buildings. My favorite was when
Ceiling?
students, well, we were trying to pull cable out of a conduit. It was snug, and then the students jumped off a ladder with it, and the whole conduit came down out of the wall onto the ceiling grid, and that came down too.
Oh, what are you doing?
It was a seismic renovation, so we proved out that it needed to be updated. So,
Hey, this one's
I
not
was-
safe either.
yeah.
I was once
mark it
leading
down.
several. I was once leading several teams on an
Allegedly.
install, and these were brand new guys who claimed they had done it all before. And so I had like 5 teams, I think, scattered across the building. Well, they were all pulling cables, so I was like going room to room. Go to one room, I don't see the guy. I see cables going up to the ceiling grid. Don't see the guy. Then I see the grid kind of move a little bit. He
standing on
had
the
tied the
grid.
cables and was crawling across the ceiling grid to where the projector was.
He's probably done that for 12 years. And you were like, whoa. He's like, I've always done it this way. What are you talking about? Like, it's never been a problem before.
Okay.
And then the ceiling came down.
All right. Well,
Well, I'll tell you what,
Minimum
why don't we
product.
take a quick break? We'll hear from a company on how they do things the right way, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some weird AI stuff,
all right.
things like that.
Hey, you! Yeah, you with the weird AV issues that need fixing. Listen up, because this is the last time I'm gonna say it. Are you tired of your electronics acting like they were put together by a bunch of monkeys with soldering irons? Well, guess what? You're in luck, pal. Introducing Independent Amalgamated AV Integrations, where we barely meet industry standards and still manage to stay in business. Look, we know you have a choice when it comes to who handles your AV, but let's be real here. Are you really going to trust some slick-talking, overpriced company with your precious gadgets? I didn't think so. At Independent Amalgamated AV Integrations, we promise to half-heartedly install your stuff with just enough competence to not get sued. And if you're lucky, it might even work for a little while. So, if you're ready to settle for mediocrity and save a few bucks in the process, give us a call at 555-GET-OK or visit independentamalgamated.com. And remember, at Independent Amalgamated AV Integrations, we're just good enough to not completely ruin your day. Maybe.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
Speaking of what?
Speaking of what?
what we were just
Tell me.
talking about in that commercial.
No.
I
Very
just said that before we went
relatable.
into the commercial. Were you not listening?
He wasn't listening right
No,
now.
he was listening.
He was doing
Justin's
cable
looking at
labels.
security cameras.
Yeah.
He's still looking at
I'm
security
actually
cameras.
working on CAD right now.
He's got to get that bespoke custom design
I'm
just
way
right.
Get it
behind,
dialed
y'all.
in. Get it done. All right. What do you got here, Chris? You got
All
some.
right.
We stumbled on some things here. What is this?
Okay, so for this last segment, how to refer to it, but it's kind of it's
It was alarming to me. It was
it's
jarring.
an AI tool. It tricks you. It's good. It's well done. It's an AI tool that stumbled across, and it's interesting the way that AI just kind of gives up and starts making up things. So let me run this clean. Let's see, where is it?
That's a snippet of it. Let's not get too long in the tooth here. This is a.
Mark doesn't want you to hear the whole thing.
I mean, you got 10 minutes.
I know. Yes, we do. I see on the
minutes of
clock right
rambling.
there. So
We'll be right back. We're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna just run this for you. Got the playlist.
Welcome to the deep dive. We are diving into a listener curated collection of sources. And you know what? It's all about the most talked about trends in AV tech. And let me tell you, some of these are genuinely giving us chills.
And for good reason. These trends, they really have the potential to impact how we use AV in a big way, from classrooms to meeting spaces to those massive auditoriums.
Yeah, and we've got insights here, like we're talking a treasure trove. From industry veterans, seasoned AV professionals, folks that have seen it
who
all,
these people are.
live to tell the tale. And were kind enough to share their, quote, scariest trends on a recent podcast episode. So let's unpack these spooky trends.
Absolutely.
Are they talking
and what's
about
interesting
us?
is that these aren't just like
You haven't
technical
listened to this?
glitches or anything. They actually point to larger issues. We're talking communication,
Stay tuned,
expertise,
Justin.
and the ever-evolving relationship between IT and AV.
It's true. And first up, this is something that one expert vividly called AV sprinkles on dog do.
Ah, yes. The belief that AV can magically fix anything.
Right. It's this blind faith in technology where folks think you just throw money and gadgets at a problem and poof, it just disappears. But as our sources pointed out, one client, they actually wanted to have a 400-person Zoom meeting in a giant auditorium. And get this, they wanted to mic up every single person.
Oh, wow.
Imagine thinking you could have
wow.
individual conversations heard
Wow.
clearly with that many people.
A logistical nightmare. This really highlights why understanding the limitations of technology
Okay.
and setting realistic expectations. from the
Let me pause it
get-go.
there.
Yeah, pause this for a moment because it's
Right.
easy
They
to
said
get
doo-doo.
it's easy to get hung up in kind of the listening to like, well, that sounds like you're talking about our podcast, and you're not wrong. You are not wrong, Justin. They are talking about the recent episode we had just done. But
Sounds familiar.
it does, right? And so, but this is the kind of stuff that is this even competition? I don't even know at this point. That it's interesting because once you get it and can see how easy you can feed it text and go and it can create a whole show for you, it's almost believable. I mean, prove that we're not AI.
Yeah. So Justin, where this came from is I took the transcript over last week's recording. So those of you who watched it live, you did hear it, but it'll be released on October 1st. For everyone else on audio, I took that transcript and I threw this in. This is Google Notebook. This is Google's new large language model AI based notebook thing. And what they have is a feature where you dump all the documents of things you want in there, and it will do some summaries and things like that. So and it does a reasonable job of that, I think. And that's one of the things that AI looks at is large bits of information and cuts to the core of it.
Distills it down.
What's interesting though is this one will also create this very kind of pat NPR sounding like they don't call it a podcast, it's called like an audio recording or something like that, with the idea that I can listen back to this stuff. So I was curious. I threw our stuff in there just to see what it would do, and it comes back, and it was interesting. I gave it 30 minutes of transcript, and it came back with a 10-minute recording, which I guess is less, but
it was angry.
About 3 minutes in, it starts drifting from stuff we started talking about, and eventually it brings in things that we didn't even mention. Like one of the things it brings up, that another one of our AV nightmares is the lack of in-person events. They don't happen anymore, and they wish they could go back and attend all these in-person events like pre-COVID. We never discussed that. It didn't come up at all. It wasn't listed anywhere, but AI just grabbed that stuff and said, well, this is probably similar, so I'm going to run with all this stuff, and did like 2 minutes on topics that we didn't even discuss from a 30-minute show.
I didn't talk about the in-person, but I did bring up the plethora of virtual things. I wonder
Correct.
if
You brought that up, and it references that, but it didn't talk, or it made up the thing about the in-person events. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting little exercise. Yeah. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. We'll release the whole thing, or I'll throw it out there as an episode. I don't know.
But I think in the back channel we had talked, you then took that the text and put it into another AI tool to tell you if it was AI generated, and it came back with a high percentage rate that our text that we are talking is AI generated, which is fascinating to me.
How do I open this in the browser?
So we are.
Justin,
we are artificial.
You're the one that's not. Chris, myself, and Larry, and sometimes Jamie is AI generated.
So I can share this for those watching live. There you go. So this is, I dumped this into one of those AI detector because I was curious about that. I dumped the same transcript that I gave to the Google Notebook AI thing. I dumped it in here, and it said, you can see at the bottom, 39.94% of the text of our discussion apparently was AI generated. So now it really makes me wonder how accurate, not only how accurate is AI, but also how accurate are these AI detectors, because it says 40% of the AV Super Friends apparently are AI. So, all right, fess up. Who is it?
Well, at the same time you were doing this, and
it's me.
My boss had taken some of the initiatives that the Learning Technology Group here had for the semester and was playing around with the same tool, and he created a podcast and shared it with me that was basically their highlights of what they were hoping to achieve this semester. And I was going to share it with the group, but by the time I got back to y'all,
Chris had beat you to it.
Had already created the virtual AV Super Friends.
But couldn't you take this a step further, just drop in a syllabus for a class and be like, here we go, just go, be done?
Well, and I think that's one of the challenges is you can take large bits of information, like here's a multi-page syllabus. I'm going to dump it in here. Please generate some content. And there are large language models out there that will generate either written or in this case, spoken content. And, because there are the AI voice emulators, it was able to do a reasonable job. You could hear some weird edits and things in there and some weird phrasing, and it drifts a little bit towards the end if you listen all the way through. But it sounded like a pretty reasonable approximation of like, hey, here's your first lesson plan that you need to teach your class. Now, what you really need then is somebody who's an actual expert in that field to look at that and review, is that good information? Because it's just like the students who go and just grab stuff off of Wikipedia. Are they really getting good sources, and is this getting good information? I thought it was just an interesting kind of example of like, no, it's not always the case. So careful with your AI stuff.
Crazy tools out there, but be careful with it. I mean,
it's only a tool.
It's only a tool. I mean, look at us. That's all we're doing here. So
we're tools too. So there's that.
No. What else? Anything else? Did you get enough in there?
Well, I got 7 more minutes. I'm just going to keep running this, and we'll just keep listening to this whole thing.
Stick around. Maybe see if anything interesting pops up out of it. So we're done doing this show anymore. Everything we're going to do from here on out is going to be AI generated. So good luck.
It's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, it's going to be real quick. It'll be nice. We'll take an hour worth of stuff and distill it down to 10 minutes for you. That way you don't have to waste your time. Get in and out. And it'll be lovely. Right, Chris?
I wonder what happened if I were to take this same recording, get a transcript of it, and dump it back in.
Let's see.
How many layers deep can I go?
Yeah.
Oh, like the onion, loop.
It's recursion, I believe, is what that's called, right? So I gave it a transcript. It generated a recording. I get a transcript of that. I throw it back in, let it generate a recording of that.
How many summaries of a summary can you summarize?
Yes.
Eventually it gets down to one word and just goes,
just said subscribe.
Just says Teams Room.
Teams Room for everybody.
21 by 9.
That's right. Yeah. Just all the trends is just the title. So it's interesting. So Say the least.
Alrighty, well, enough of that. So let's see. No stream next week. Well, I guess you guys can try to do that.
Some of you guys are traveling the
I'm
world.
doing other shit. So,
Jet setting.
but we'll be back next month with. We've got some guests lined up too, and we've got our Halloween special is due out around the 15th, mid of October.
Get ready.
So look for that. Excited about that one. It'll be bigger and better even than last year. More work on that one. I'll just give it to this AI model. Let it do it. It's faster. So
yeah.
And
whole year's worth of budget into that one show. All right. Well, get us out of here, Chris.
Let me roll us out.
Push the button. We'll get out of here.
I'm getting there.
You've got a house of cards of buttons you're pushing. Thank you all for joining in and sticking around with us, putting up with this stuff. And those of you, BC, you put some text up there. Thank you for interacting.
Thanks to our one fan, BC, today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
There's quite a few more than that out there.
Was there? Great.
Look at those numbers. Those are big numbers. Yeah.
2.
Yeah,
all right.
2.
Well, we'll see y'all next week. No, next month.
Yep.
In the future. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.